Hi everyone and welcome to Tap. Welcome to Tap into a bit of wisdom. I am so glad today to talk to you, Rosalyn Rourke. I'll just present you here. MSW, a 2 times best-selling author and psychotherapist for more than 30 years. And you were even a pioneer in the field of shame, which is really awesome. And recently, you have published a book that you're going to share about today. It's called When Wisdom Arrives, From Imagined Unworthiness to Freedom. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
So happy that we made it. And
Yes.
and I'm glad to hear that you are a pioneer in the field of shame, because I mean, even just hearing that reminded me that I heard the term, like, for what it is, what the meaning of shame is, first in 2015, and I remember that really clearly because it was such a game changer for me. Like, wow, that is what I've been feeling, and that is what I've been doing to myself. So that is huge. And
Should we define it? Should we define it for people?
please, let us have you
So,
define shame.
yeah. So I think the best way to understand shame is that it's kind of a soul wound. And if you're a person who doesn't believe in a soul, hear it as a deeper personal wound than guilt. Guilt is when you've made a mistake. And yes, we feel badly when we make a mistake, but guilt is correctable if you have the courage to say, I'm sorry, or if you have the courage to make reparations, if you would like to face it. And even if the person doesn't respond to your apology, you start to feel better. Shame is different, and I now like to call it imagined unworthiness because over the years, I have found that even using the word shame makes people feel ashamed. They feel like somebody's wagging their finger at them, and you can't even seem to hear the word without starting to go to that place where you're unfixable, you're so damaged, you're so broken that's why I'm calling it a soul wound or some profoundly deep imagined unworthiness, because it's only based on your thoughts and your feelings, which kind of takes us to the book, because the sentence that's the most important is for everyone, no matter how evolved you are, or I am, or someone is, there are moments in the day when we are captivated by our thoughts and feelings and we take them as truth. So the sentence in the book is, because this wisdom character is talking to a child, and she says to the child, if thoughts and feelings were true, they would be called facts. And that is the opener. That is the best news for anybody dealing with this deep wound of imagined unworthiness, because what we do is cover it up then. If we're this bad and unfixable, then we have to hide it from people. And now, with mindset work and all these years, this was the 80s when we first, 1980s, when we first started pioneering this work. But it took all these years for it to reach everyone, let's say in 2015. And now it's a game changer when I'm calling it imagined unworthiness. Because, and the reason it's a spiritual wound is if there's any sense of the divine, then how can our essence be wrong?
man. Oh man. First of all, you should have worked. You should have hurried up with that work. You know, that feeling was like, why didn't I know that before? But I'm really glad that you were involved in that work, and it eventually came out to someone like me. So because it's so precious, and I love that description of it. So a soul wound. It really reminds me of, just to people who talk astrology, of Scorpio, the eighth house, because it's the wound, and in some traditions you even say that Pluto and Scorpio and eighth house is related to the soul. So that's amazing. And then you say that imagined unworthiness, that's actually your new term for shame?
Yes.
Amazing.
I don't even like to use the word shame anymore.
No, great.
Because, and then people say my shame. And then if you say, instead of my, because people are blind to that, it's not true. So, but if you say my imagined unworthiness, at least you're getting a little closer to the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. And so I thought you also talk about multigenerational patterns and conditioned thoughts, and that's how I feel about imagined unworthiness for me, that is actually related to someone before me,
Mhm.
that there is something that I inherit.
Mhm.
And that's what you talk about in the book as well. I don't know if it's always something that some people pass down through the line, or it's just part of our culture as well, conditioned thoughts and what we take ourselves to be.
Well, it's probably different for different people. There's a whole ancestral lineage that talks, when I say lineage, part of family systems that talks about, and his name is Bert Hellinger. He's a German, so you might know him.
Yeah.
But so, especially when there's trauma, and especially when something has not been worked out or the person has been forgotten, those are the situations. So, like, say somebody was a rapist or somebody went to jail, and then the family decides, well, we won't want to affect the next generations, so we won't speak of this person. You can count on it that somebody next will be holding those issues, either in imagined unworthiness or become a rapist and or go to jail, just like that person. But I think the important part, for at least that I present in my book, is that, and this field is called epigenesis. I don't use that word because it's a little. I try, my whole attempt in this book, and my reason for writing it as a fable, is to be so simple, to make it a story, but get by our brains, which just go on, keeping things in a loop. But we're looking to break out of the loop for changing family patterns. And
Yeah.
all you need to do to stop the lineage from passing down is awareness and a different thought reaction and a different behavior. So in the book, it's all about weight and mothers for 3+ generations being judgmental about their daughter's weight. Well, if Melissa, my daughter who died early, and I got to change that paradigm, then the next generations, or her sister who's left, or the people I speak to, don't have to pick it up, because it's the opposite of keeping it a secret. We've dealt with it, we're not pushing it away.
Yeah.
There was a grandmother in the story that was making my mother run around the streets when the Nazis were there. She was a Jew. She was unsafe, but the mother thought she could, by judging her weight and making her slim, she could override the Nazis and make her daughter safer. She wasn't trying to hurt her daughter, even though to us it goes, what? What are you doing? Like you're hurting her with the running, you're hurting her with making her different, and you're exposing her to the Nazis. It's irrational. Let's just smile at our thoughts and feelings and behaviors as though they were irrational, not disrespect them, but acknowledge them, but not believe them. And now you have all kinds of opportunities available.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, so good. Yeah. I mean, when you were saying all we have to do, you said something to the extent of all we had to do is to not react and not believe. I was like, yeah, but that's also a lot. I mean, so we have to go from conditioned thinking, conditioned thought to.
Well, now let's say we don't know when we're having a thought if it's conditioned or not.
Right.
So we're believing our thoughts. So let's say make something up of a conditioned thought that you think of.
Yeah.
Think of something.
Oh, but that's very easy because I definitely have that racing mind often. So it often centers around a loops. You were talking about a looping around when I feel someone it doesn't like me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we have a thought like that, we're usually not saying it's a conditioned thought. We're pretty sure that person doesn't like me, or we're suspecting already. We're on the lookout. So something really helpful that's not in the book, because again, I'm talking to a child and using just the core ideas, but this is useful for all of us. There's something in the back of our brain called the reticular activating system. It's RAS. You don't need to remember it, but all you need to know is it's called the sorter, SORTER. So my brain sorts. So in this case, your brain, or the example in from our listeners, if someone has had experiences where they've been rejected or they believe they've been rejected. So, for example, I had that as a 4 on the Enneagram, but maybe I wasn't actually being rejected. Maybe I felt I was.
Yeah.
Then I start, because of that trauma, I start sorting for rejecting people. The brain does that. It will sort for all of your beliefs. It's not just what happened to you. So my parents were very involved with the Holocaust, but they didn't want to talk about it because they wanted to protect us. So my mother was depressed. My father was unavailable. Well, the daughter feels rejected. It had nothing to do with me, but that doesn't matter. My brain thinks I was rejected. So then I start sorting for that. Now, before I ever knew about the RAS, I started to say, maybe that's just my Enneagram. Maybe that if you don't need to know the Enneagram, you could just say, maybe that's my personality from my experience sorting for rejection. You just put maybe in there. If you just put maybe in there, it starts to have that pause, that place for an observer to step in, which takes you to the real self, the true I that you wanted to talk about, that can't be rejected because it's part of life. We can't get there in the middle of it. And when we're in the middle of looping thoughts, we actually don't wish to take a break. We want to add to it. And that person who rejected me, and remember the last time they did it, how many times, let me ask your listeners, have you started making up a story about why the person hasn't answered your email or your text, and you're in it? They did this, you did this, that's why.
Yeah.
And then you come to your phone and you see you didn't even send it. Right? It's happened to all of us. Why didn't they answer you?
Yeah. So it's partly that you make it up with your mind, and partly because of what you could call trauma. You can call it personality. You can call it your shadow in different type systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
In astrology, that what we're talking about is very related to water. Both of us are water. So and if I were to say a number in the Enneagram, the little I know about it, I'm a 4 as well. So it's all connected to personality, and that is our conditioned self.
Yeah.
So it's
But it
thinking and
feels
it's
very
personality.
real. So let's dip into that's theoretical, a conditioned self. Who do we feel we are?
Yeah.
Most of us think we're our bodies. And then, because that's what we know to be life, and we've been taught we're not all given the name I am. We're given separate, different names. So, think of how dogs, how quickly they learn their names. Children learn their names right away, and that makes them different. So we're taught that we're all separate and we are our bodies, they contain us. But that doesn't actually fit with what science tells us. Science tells us we're energy. They haven't found these solid beings that we think of ourselves as. So going back to that one sentence, like if you took one thing from this podcast today and started every day with, if thoughts and feelings were true or truth, they would be called facts. If you just looked for that maybe all day long, it would be like taking that pause. Just putting that little bit of doubt, that little bit of willingness to be incorrect, like maybe I didn't send that text, you know.
Yeah.
So if we start there, then we have access to the observer. Because when we're in it, there's no access because we haven't even found the willingness to doubt it yet. I always say yet because we're there till we're not there.
Yeah.
And that you never know if it's going to be this afternoon when this morning you weren't willing to even imagine or believe that you're anything more than your body or your thoughts and your feelings. Did you want to do that astrological so that people have a break from my talking and let them?
I'm completely enjoying you talking. But yeah, we could
But
do
they
that.
could then put it in the context of the astrological, and maybe it would be even more meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a lot to say in a chat like that, but just the fact that let's just go with Cancer for now, just that sign, so people can relate to that. That's about following your feelings. It's both what you are learning to do and also what you instinctively do. And then, I mean, taking it slow is a really good match to this sign, and you're also able to go, because I think because you're close to your own vulnerabilities, you're good at opening up other people's vulnerabilities as well. Like they start sharing that with you. For example, when people are around someone with a lot of Cancer energy, people can talk about their fear of being abandoned and attachment wounds, really. And that's because of that emotional connection that we were just talking about, because that's a quality, that's a therapist in that, the therapist. But of course, on the shadow side of it, there's issues as well. There's like mood going up and down, and it can be, and you can feel really attached to something. So
Yeah.
there's a process in every sign. There's a process. You know this from the Enneagram, right? That it's not just a fixed thing. There's a journey here.
Yeah.
But it's a very soft, intimate quality.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer. Just to go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And I feel that there's when we step back from being the personal self, it feels like a loss, because that's what we've been trying all to be, a better self. Most of us, we try to be kinder, smarter, more successful, more this, more that, and better at being ourselves. And so for many, in this book, the little girl finds her true I by stepping out of the world and playing games with this wisdom character. And we can do that. But I think first we have to have the interest and motivation to not be a personal self. Because I know for years I just wanted to be a better personality. I wanted not to be jealous. I wanted to not be withholding. I wanted to be generous. I wanted to be blah, 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 whatever. It changed over different times. But when nobody told us what is the advantage of letting that go. So what is what does one get when we're not the personal self, when we're the true I? Should we talk some about what that is?
Yes, I really like it already. I'm feeling that. That level. It's very potent, because it's a good intention. You want to improve yourself. You want to be more generous, but then that's still you.
You're stuck still being a body and a personality.
Yeah.
And we don't know that there's anything else, because most spiritual paths that I know of, the regular ones where you go to a church or a temple or a synagogue or a whatever, or even the New Age things, there's a higher self, and there's a God or whatever, the divine, and then there's you. But what this book opens up and is the possibility that we are what that is. And I know that's conceptual and it's hard to swallow at first, because we all come with that imagined unworthiness. And then we've been taught that it's better and humble to say God or the divine is out there and we're just these little whatevers. But if we take on the weather as our best example of something that's outside of us. I mean, there's all kinds of people who believe in manifestation, but I don't know too many who think they can make it rain or snow or whatever from their personal self. But what if you are the rain today? You are what the rain is. It's neither good nor bad, but it's part of the bigger weather. Another day, you will be a cloud. Another day, you'll be a hail. Another day, you'll be a tornado. You will be used by the weather, which is impersonal, but very, very sensory if you're the rain. I mean this very literally, because we hold on to being separate bodies because, well, it feels it. I can feel I'm me. But no, you're just feeling your sensations. We don't know that's you. You're feeling stuff. So, can we start with a problem and make it more concrete for everyone and step out of the conceptual? So, everybody think of something that you have gone over, something that troubled you recently, so you feel it. It could be something like Mana brought up, like, somebody rejected you. Mm-hmm. But if you're worried about your finances, a lot of people go over and over their partner or their friend, or they go over and over what's happening to the world, or what's happening in politics, what's happening in your money, what's happening with a business. You've already thought of it, probably.
I have. Because it's looping thoughts, so they keep making...
Yeah. Yes. And our listeners have probably already thought, because we tend to have only one or two, maybe three subjects, but usually one and maybe two. And if it seems like, well, I go over other people, yes, you go over other people, but maybe it's a theme of rejection, or it's a theme of not enough, or it's a theme that sorter that will find in the world that you're correct. It will show up. You'll find all the people who will reject you if you don't have that awareness that you could be creating it by sorting for it. But let's go to our subject, everybody. Our recent subject of this happened, and go to believing it. And on a score of 0 to 10, rate how disturbing it is, 10 being the most disturbing. I said 0, 1 being the least disturbing. Don't pick that one. If it's so little, it's a 1. Pick something at least a 4 or a 5 or upwards from there. And allow you a minute to go over what's happened, why you're upset, why you're anxious. Now step into your breathing and notice, don't try to change it, just notice your breathing and your body. Where are you tight? Are you loose? Are you taking deep breaths or shallow breaths? How is your chair or your feet on the ground? How's it going? How's your connection? Are you feeling it, or are you in your subject? Are you hunched? How is your posture? Where is your neck? So just in this short while, and we could do this longer, but then you would think it was the effect of the meditation. So now go back and rate very honestly how disturbing that subject is. And I'll just ask you, Mana, did your number change at all?
Oh, after having relaxed,
Yeah.
it kind of stayed the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the same. That's good. Many people it will stay the same. So now, and it stay the same because this is a frequently held subject of yours. This is a theme. And so the theme often doesn't loosen right away. So now, can you observe yourself feeling? Is it, give us just a little more data on the last one? Is it a male or a female? Is it a friend? Is it somebody you hardly know? Is it a partner? Just give us something. It could be made up or it could be real. We don't need to know.
But does it have to be a person?
No, no. What's rejecting you?
Oh, what's rejecting me? Okay. What's rejecting me? I guess. I guess
Well, I
it's.
thought that was what you were thinking about. Something,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Well,
Right. But it can be like a whole philosophical thought thinking about who's doing it, because it's probably myself who's rejecting me. But
oh no, but the subject, what is it? Give me a more specifics of what's looping. What is the thought that's looping?
yeah, it's like I'm never gonna make it.
You're never going to make it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're going into rejecting the self. So it's not another, it's not someone's rejecting you. Okay, I got it. You're never going to make it. And watch, you add to it, right? With this data and that data, you're proof that you're never going to make it. And then this is wonderful because we often have something that's like other people can make it, but not us. It's for other people. And so we're adding to it. Yeah, this one made it, that one made it. Oh, they have more money. Oh, they have a different look. They have a different personality. They're from a different we can back it up and add to it and add to it. So in the story, the fable, the wisdom character asks the little girl, first of all, are her thoughts hurtful or neutral? So neutral would be something like take a sweater, it's cold outside. If I would add to the book here, and I would have you notice thoughts that pumped you up to being the greatest. Oh, I had this interview. It's going to go viral. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I would have you look at not just hurtful thoughts, but the thoughts that make you better than the best. So both will keep you in that loop.
Yeah.
It's about stepping out of the question, are you good enough? Will you make it? How do we get there? So let me ask you, are you aware of those hurtful thoughts?
I'm
Yes.
aware. Yeah.
Yes, you're aware of that. Now, you still, at this point, we're calling that the observer. I'm guessing that even though you're aware of it, you still want to be successful. You still want to make it, right?
Yeah.
That's like all of us. The observer, on first glance, stepping out, whether you do it through your body or whether you do it through psychology, you're still invested in you and in those looping thoughts, in working out the problem, so called. Now, everyone, this is for everyone. Join me. Are you aware? Are you able to perceive the observer? Do you see it? Do you feel it? Are you aware of it? Yeah, she's shaking her head for
Yeah.
all of you listening. Yes, she's saying with her head. So all of you are probably aware of the observer. And now you're aware of what's aware of the observer. So let's call that the witness. Can you feel again, take another second that you're aware of the observer, Mana? Yeah. At this point, is that number as the same that you're never going to make it?
No. No, because
What's the number?
I'm too focused on
Yeah.
witnessing.
So that's it. You just gave us the secret. Go back and back and back. If your number were to have stayed the same, I would have had you be aware of the witness. Go back even further till you have a true witness that just says the fact. There's this being that's in the world who is efforting to try to be more. But it's without the feelings, the thoughts, all the history, the memory, the comparisons, the looping, all of that. You're more just the observing, right? And that's for everyone. And now let's just stay there. We're in this place that's another direction from the outer world. Who cares less? It's not from being unfeeling, it's just from entering a territory that's not personal. The weather doesn't care about a storm, a house that got hit by the storm. It's neutral. It's not personal to that house that got hit. When we say we don't care, it's not from lack of compassion. It's from the impersonal, but we're not comfortable with that because of the language.
That's what you call, for example, benevolent neutrality.
Right, right. But we have to hook those words. And even benevolent makes it sound generous and good. The isness of life, of weather, it just is.
Just is.
It's
Yeah.
neither good nor bad. It just is. It's like death. You have a meditation that's wonderful on death.
Oh, thank you.
It just is. We try to put words on it, like love or benevolent or something else. Now it complicates it. There's a place before we go to sleep every single night that we're neither awake nor asleep. We're still almost awake and almost asleep. Now, if we were to try to describe that, neutrality even wouldn't do it because we've left the world, we've left our thoughts and feelings, but we're not even us. We're headed toward the isness of life. We're still alive. We're aware we're alive. But aliveness isn't anything. And the minute we try to put parameters on it, So we lose the experience. But go back to what everyone can connect to. It's like the witness. We can get there in our daily lives by observing and going back of the observer to the observer and back and back and back until there's just witnessing with no involvement in the issue. And when we're there, where does it begin? Where is it? Is it in the brain? Not really. The brain has stopped functioning. Is it in the heart? No, I don't think so. Because I'm not feeling feelings. I'm just awake and almost asleep. Is it peaceful, Anna?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
yet,
definitely the word.
even more than peaceful, right?
Like
It's
relaxed.
it's relaxed. It's the ultimate. It's nothing. If we could allow nothing not to be negative, if we, it's a nothing that's everything. Is anything lacking in this place? Nothing's lacking. And now you're the embodiment of everything, of life. There's no separation between this and life. Yet, if we say, describe life, please, we're at a lack of words. Don't do it. But separation, when we're looking for the true I to be a body or a form or an energy, or people put words on the divine, it's all good, or it's this or that, depending on your pathway. All of those words keep us, all of those descriptions keep us from knowing that this nothingness that is everything is the true I. So when we come from there and we're coming from life, how does that compute? Like, how do we do our lives, come back into the world and use this knowing that we're more than a personal self, that the personal self is the embodiment, but it's not the whole picture.
There's more to you.
There's more to you, but you're not going to look for another thing, because when you're into things, you need the observer again. Now, some people will say they can't do the observer. They can't. They just can't. But these same people will bring up freeze. When they're facing, they know fight, flight, freeze. And these same people will often say, because I freeze when I'm in a traumatic situation, I can't do the observer, I can't pause it. But freeze is in fight, flight, freeze. Those choices around trauma are in our bodies, all of them, all of us. We have that old potential from prehistoric or historic man. So what if we add freeze to the pause, to the not adding on? All of these are more adult additions to the book. But I really encourage you to read the most simple version. It's on Audible, and having my voice to describe it really helps.
Yes, it does.
Yes, I want to sell books, but even more, I want to get the message out.
Yeah.
I'm 76, and this is my daughter's message, and it's my message. I live to honor her. And for this to be, there are even ways to get it free. So, you know, I would just love if it piques you, if it perks you, if it tempts you. This fits into an example of how movement, you feel yes, you feel no. That is from the divine. When there is that movement, but you're not invested in the book. You don't care how many books I sell. You don't know me, the person listening. So if there is a movement within you, trust that movement. So it doesn't mean it's about this book, it's about everything in life. Trust if the movement is coming from your personality or coming from the witness.
I mean, that is.
Sometimes I do things that I don't even agree with, but I do them because the movement is there.
Rosalyn, I feel like you are just filled with wisdom. Very appropriate title you have for your book. And that is something I sense. And when I sense that, it's like I need more. Like I want to hear more. And so I really hope that we can meet up again, because there is so much to what you're saying. And this conversation took a turn. I have so many questions. But this was really lovely.
Let's do a part 2 and a part 3.
I really
and
want to, yeah.
Take our time,
Yeah.
because we have time.
Yeah.
We always act like we have a limit,
Yeah.
and tell us time isn't real. But to really convey these subjects, we have to give them their space. So yes, let's meet again.
Yeah, and they need space, because then otherwise the conditioned self
takes over.
It takes over and think, oh, I got it, right? Because I did get it. But there's a practice to it.
Yes.
Again and again is what I think.
And there's the experience.
Yeah.
Like everybody will remember, if they choose to, what happened with them, that they cared less about the issue that was 5, 6, 7, or 10. So we can use that. We don't need to do that again. We can in another way, but you don't need to practice that as long as you make it yours. I had this experience, so I know that now. You have to claim it. If you don't claim it just as a state, oh, I listened to this podcast and I had this experience, yeah, it'll go. But if you claim it, that now I know something of this true I, and I wish to know more, but claim even if it's a little. Otherwise, you'll have to be on the meditation cushion and you'll have to do another whatever. You don't. This is a belief. You can claim it. You can change your beliefs. And then that RAS will look for more evidence that that's true, that you know something of your true I.
Right. It's like reminding yourself or stating it to yourself that this is possible, this way of perceiving is possible.
Yeah.
I just have a few comments, because all of this was very Piscean. And this is just to do one addition to what we were talking about, that you have a Cancer sun, that's your sun sign. But then you have it in the 12th house, and that's the house of spirituality, and it's the house of non-dualism. It's the impersonal love.
Oh,
It's
wow.
really the impersonal. So it makes a lot of sense that you rated, well, I'm sure all of us has the personality journey and then something else opens up. But in particular, it makes sense in your chart that there is that journey towards the whole impersonal outlook, and that also that relaxed, effortless state. That's also there because Pisces at the 12th house it stands for dreams. Um, and the
That's
combination of that, I mean, it's all about security, Cancer, and peace. And so how do you find that? Well, there's things you have to let go of. That's the 12th house, what you let go of.
mm,
Yeah. So
wow.
just makes a lot of sense to me.
You're really gifted in the astrological and integrating it with the personality and spiritual uh, paths. And I think finding our own path is what we're all looking for.
Yeah.
We don't have to reinvent anything. If you are attracted to something, then don't be a Catholic, a Protestant, a New Age, a Course in Miracles. Be you and claim that.
Yeah. Be you and claim that. I mean, we have to go into it more in the next round, but I did want to say, because you just mentioned it quite quickly, and I just want to mention that you did lose your daughter, and so if someone knows about this, that what can happen when we don't want that, we don't want this to happen. That's the ultimate. You don't want that to happen, and yet finding that neutrality, this state that you're talking about, it's really powerful coming from that, because that's not something you just do. I mean,
Yeah, let's start the next one with that.
yeah,
It's, uh, it is it it isn't to get to where I am, where I can think of Melissa's death or passing and have it not hurt. I didn't go to neutrality. I went to the isness
right.
and
That's the
I
difference. Okay,
found neutrality.
okay, yeah,
So I went, if you know the stages of grief, the first stages are all about a fight with what is depression, bargaining, and so on. Even shock. You're saying this can't be. After the shock, something happened, but it wasn't the something that happened that brought me from the traditional grief to the acceptance of the isness. If I get given a choice, it has nothing to do with acceptance, meaning I agree. No, no, it bypasses agreement. If I'm given a choice, I'll have her back.
for sure.
But it just is
Yeah,
like the weather.
yeah,
And so we can talk next time about the tug of war that's in
yeah,
the book, the picture. The stages of grief are like the tug of war. Why did this happen? I'm not good enough. Anger, why this shouldn't have happened if I had only, and so on. But acceptance, not agreement, just the isness of it happened had me let go. But there was a part that I got that I can still be okay. How can I be okay? The culture says if I loved her, I have to suffer because the culture says the degree of your suffering is equal to the love. That is so not true. And that's what I live by. I live to honor her. memory. I live to honor that relationship, and that gives me courage and it enlivens me. So neutrality, that you see why it's more than the
Yeah, I
neutrality,
see.
passion. So shall we end there?
We
Because
shall, Rosalyn. I just want to say how grateful I am to have met you and to speak with you, and that we even meeting again, because there's so much in what you just said. That's a lot.
I
So
love talking to you and your listeners, and you're brilliant. So there's nothing more satisfying than to have resonance.
no, that is wonderful. Yeah. And
Yes. So
anyone who listens have that, because you're here, you're tuned in, so you're part of it.
thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Rosalyn. See you again. Speak to you again. Bye.
Bye.